Hey yo, it's your boy Henry Carson III. I'm in here. Welcome to my podcast. Hey, I want to thank you guys early and often for supporting me thus far. We're definitely building that brand as we speak. Hey, I'm not going to be before you long, as I know I have been promising you guys that I would come on today. I had to get some things situated, rearranged, prearranged, dealing with the boys, getting them out the way for a few minutes to take some time to be with you guys, my family, my network. Amen. Hey, at any rate, I know, as I've stated, as I've been threatening, I've been saying that I was going to actually give my thought on the Black Lives Matter as a movement. As many of you have been asking me over the span of the week, as you know that I'm pretty much a supporter of all lives matter, especially ours. A lot of you guys have said, well, why did you come to that conclusion? Well, it's a simple thing. At the end of the day, no matter what the situation is, no matter how diabolical, no matter how intense the situation is, there is a fact out there, and that is that all lives matter in the sight of God. But the fact is, though all lives matter, especially our lives, I'm talking about the African in America. Hey guys, I tell you what, I had thought on this. I said, it's a lot of material to get out. So I said, was I going to bore you guys and pontificate over and over and just talk about the subject? I said, this subject is so much of an importance to me that I need to read my very words, because I don't want to in any way be mistaken or be misquoted in what I'm saying. First and foremost, as stated, in all fairness, I will say that Black Lives Matter, the implication is wonderful. As far as the movement, there's still a few things that are out there that I'm kind of questioning. What I'm going to do is simply read to you guys in this first segment of Black Lives Matter and my thought on it as a movement. And then what I'll be doing in the coming weeks, I'll probably break this up into two other halves to further expound on my thoughts. So guys, bear with me. I'm just simply going to read my thoughts on that, okay? And it goes on to say, BLM, my thoughts on the movement. It says, knowing that I am a supporter of all lives matter, especially ours, many have asked me for my view, input, opinion on Black Lives Matter. The movement, first off, I would have to say that as an African in America, I am certainly an ardent supporter of the implication of Black Lives Matter. As it is certainly time, I truly believe that we in the borders of these United States of America give pause to our active distractions. Begin to stop looking over past matters of enslavement, oppression, and outright targeting of a people group in the borders of these United States that we call home of the free. So with that said, yes, I applaud that in which BLM implies. Now, on the other hand, I totally disagree with Black Lives Matter, the movement. And you may ask why. Well, the reason why is my big three reasons for such are as follows. Number one, it's non-organic. Number two, it's far too controlled. And number three, the leaders identified thus far at best are disingenuous, and I believe they have a self-serving political and financial agenda that are not fully focused toward real, relevant change as regarding the African plight in America. That's simply my thought on that, ladies and gentlemen. I'll expound a little bit more on that. Once again, it's non-organic, it's too controlled, and I believe that those who are the major contributors and those who are part of the movement organization, they have self-serving motives that don't serve the plight of the African in America. Like the uninvited guest at the family gathering, interjecting his input on family matters, George Soros. We know that George Soros, he is one of the main funders of the Black Lives Matter. When I begin to look at Soros, he's a Hungarian billionaire inventor. He's a liberal boogeyman. He was literally Hillary Clinton's most generous donor. That should really tell you a lot, my political view aside. Beyond that, he's the chief donor and chief funder of the BLM movement. Once recorded by a journalist, this is what the gentleman was noted as saying. He said, "The main obstacle to a stable and just world order is the United States." Ergo, in other words, he said that constitutional republic must be weakened and its allies degraded. That should make you raise an eyebrow as an American. Then he goes on to say, the Honorable Malcolm X, he always said that while being interviewed once, he cautioned that the most diabolical enemy of the black man in America is in fact the white liberal. Think about it. Like a wolf in sheep's clothing, pretending to be the black man's ally, while all the while plotting a way to get the lamb chop. And the fact is, we are the lamb chop that they so covet, be it Republican, Independent, or Democrat. We are that lamb chop. It says this is when it comes to the political arena, and further its predatory landscape as relating to the African in America. The design was never, let's get this straight, the design was never for us to sit at the table, but to be served on the menu. And that's just a fact. And over 40 years later, the agenda remains the same. Only now the desperate, opportunistic, left-leaning liberal agenda has found a new wagon to hitch itself to in the BLM movement. Once again, like wolves in sheep's clothing, with no real interest in real, relevant, and lasting change for the Africans in America as it relates to even equitable and ethical treatment, in which the only way to be exacted is through constitutional change and amendment. We can shout all day, we can bust windows all day, we can tear down statues, throw them into the raging sea, but if we do not get in a position to see exacting change of constitution and amendments changed, then we're doing this all for naught. It's simply smoke and mirrors. In my honest opinion, George Soros could honestly care less about the plight of the African in America, and far more about his ultimate deep statish agenda of weak American dollar, open borders, and entry-level communist construct. Ladies and gentlemen, I hate to burst your bubble, but if you think that us wearing draws on our face is all about a mythological kung flu, then you're sadly mistaken. I truly believe that it's more about control and an entry level to communist government. That's just my personal opinion. Now, as we go on here, it says, and just after the election, Mr. Soros and the liberal left support of Black Lives Matter, they'll fizzle out quicker than Joe Biden's memory. As the liberal Soros vision, just as in the vision of the left, is to rape the rights of every American, including black lives. And just like a perfect confluence of liberal agendas camouflaging themselves as allies to undermine any real, relevant, and lasting change as regarding the plight of the African in America in the form of constitutional change or amendment, enters the Black Lives Matter organization, which upon further research one can quickly surmise is an uber feminist / LBGT QRSTUV WXY and Z led organization, one in which through plight appropriation, because they appropriated the plight of the black man, through plight appropriation, much in the same way as that of women's liberation movement that produced affirmative action, has used the civil rights struggles of the African in America as a springboard to some monumental political wins and to further their self-serving agenda. Let me check my time. I'm still with you guys. We're at 9 minutes. I'm going to keep this in about 5 more. Thank you guys for remaining here. It's as though I in no way agree with the LBGTQ lifestyle nor further their agenda. I will still go on the record to say I respect their willingness as a united front amidst ridicule to still yet lobby, persevere, protest, push to see it through, that their demands are met. I respect that fact, and that they're further discussed. It goes on to say, but with all due respect, the struggle of the homosexual for social acceptance here in America pales in comparison to the long-standing, over 250-year documented struggle of the African in America for civil rights. Let's get it straight. There is a difference. As there is a difference in human and civil rights. Let's get that straight. There's a massive difference between human rights and civil rights. If you don't believe me, look it up in the dictionary. The myth still to this day pushed in classrooms of Ivy League institutes and halls of Congress is that the feminist movement, in which led up to the penning of affirmative action laws, in some way benefited the African woman and further people of color. Fact is, none of this could be further from the truth. The black woman, though used as the face of the movement, sound familiar, was the beneficiary of absolutely nothing but supplemental benefits at the stake of having their homes broken apart, and the children in said homes further enslaved and mentally damaged by the absence of the father figure. A textbook classic case of divide to further conquer. Truth is, the main beneficiary of that movement was in fact the white woman. Got a few more minutes. One might reason that the black woman, in all of her charisma, strength, and zealousness, was being used as a mere tool to aesthetically appease Africans in America and assure them that at that point in history, they were going to finally be heard and their needs addressed and met once and for all. All the while, the liberal white woman, fully understanding there was no real plans to address the need of the black woman, but to only appropriate the black woman's narrative of victimhood to further their own agenda. To think, though, this happened in the early 60s, it sounds awfully familiar. Black Lives Matter pushed, funded, undergirded, yet again by those with self-serving political and financial agendas, none of which are truly organic or even remotely focused on the plight and pressing need for change as it relates to the treatment of the African in America. Guys, it's a lot more here. I'm going to try to deduce this on down, and we'll get it going. We'll pick up on the next segment here, because I'm trying to give you guys my word, keep this under 16 minutes. Now, while I am certainly not opposed to allies of any color or particular political party, as long as their intent is wholehearted, singular, and unapologetically in support of the African's plight and fight here within the borders of these United States of America. But it is imperative that said ally not try to lead the charge or in any way to undermine the charge. As truth is, it's time for the African in America to speak for himself. That's a fact, period. Far too many times, as is documented throughout history, has the black man in America rallied at a pivotal time to only have their agenda betrayed, watered down, and otherwise placated by those in which claimed to be allies but had ulterior motives not conducive to our liberation. And I'm coming to a close. I personally, even more so than voting, am an advocate for protest. But not just protest for the sake of congregating, walking in circles, holding signs, and chanting, but protest with pronounced leaders speaking to power and making relevant and real demands beyond defacing property, tearing up neighborhoods, and toppling over statues. I may be alone in the observation, but maybe not. I find it absolutely strange that in all of the rallying and protests, especially those of the BLM sort, that there are no pronounced leaders with a list of real, relevant, and revolutionary demands beyond requesting the removal of a statue